All right, welcome everybody into episode 1. Now batting for the Phillies, Mike Gill, Bob Wankel, a Mike and Bob Phillies baseball chat in podcast form. You've heard us on the radio, and now we're going to just shoot the breeze here on the BFA Live Sports channel at Mike Gill Show on the Twitter X platform and on YouTube. You guys know what to do. Do what you need to do to find us. A Mike and Bob Phillies baseball chat. People have come to love these things, Bob, and we just need to do it more. So here it is. How are you, friend?
I'm good. I'm excited to do this, and I'm really excited about the opportunity to ask you questions and not just be peppered all the time. You know, turn the tables a little bit, make it a little bit more conversational here. And
yeah,
what better time to kick off a Phillies podcast than after another disappointing season in which they have to answer a million questions?
Well, that's what we intend to do. We're going to be over doing this throughout the offseason. And, you know, one of the things is Dave Dombrowski, Rob Thomson spoke yesterday. So I'll just fire out a couple of thoughts that I had, and I want to get your takes. One, it sounds like they're going to run it back. Do you believe them?
What choice do they really have? I mean, they can tweak, but the things that you would want them to do in order to not run it back or blow it up, like it would all hurt, right? Like, oh you don't want to bring back JT Realmuto? What's your solution behind the plate? You don't want to bring back 56 home runs from Kyle Schwarber? What's your solution for a team that desperately needs slug? Like, you have to bring these guys back. So, yeah, I believe them. Is it going to look a little different? Sure, but
you have to bring these guys back just because you have no other options, or is there an option that just would be painful?
Well, I think that you could move on from Kyle Schwarber, and maybe they will. I mean, maybe Kyle Schwarber decides that there's a better deal out there. Maybe there's something situationally that he's going to gravitate towards. But does that mean that you're sunk? Maybe not. But I just think when you look at the way that this team is currently built, like I know you look at slug and where they finished in home runs per game, and it wasn't like they were bottom tier or anything like that. But I just think when you combine the leadership aspect of it with the power aspect of it, like losing Kyle Schwarber would not bring you closer to where you want to be. Not this year and probably not next year. So, or the year after that, I should say. So I just think that you're sort of locked into certain components of this, and you have to hope that they just get more production out of certain guys when it matters most.
Well, okay, let me ask this question. I've been like going through this a lot because people seem to be, did they come off bad yesterday? Did Dombrowski and or Thomson come off bad, truthful, refreshing, idiotic? Like, how do we consume the over hour worth, almost 2 hours worth of content that we got yesterday? Like, where, what bucket do you put this in?
Well, I think that's a great question, and it's to me. What I would tell you is this. Here's the short version. I think that Dave Dombrowski told a lot of truths yesterday. I think that he was very honest about certain dynamics in terms of the players, in terms of future roster construction, where they're at. And though it is agitating is all – I mean, it is – can I curse on this show? Probably not, right? This is clean.
Yeah, have fun.
I should have checked with you before we started recording on that. But, I mean, it's really agitating to hear him say something like, look, you know, we just ran into the wrong team in the Dodgers. But the reality of it is that they did run into the wrong team. They probably are the second best team in baseball, the second best team in the National League. The Dodgers, if you didn't like the Phillies, you like the Brewers. Well, guess what? The Brewers have 3 runs in 3 games against this Dodgers team right now, who's a defending World Series champion. So while it feels like excuse making and it does feel like a deflection, I mean, the reality is, had they matched up with anybody else, they'd probably be still playing right now. That all being said, look, all that being said, I think it's fair to put some of it on players, asking is Bryce Harper, you know, does he have the ability to be a lead again? What a question. What a remarkable thing for an executive to say in that forum. But the one thing that did annoy me was that it felt like it was all on everyone else. We're bringing back the coaches. We built a team that won 96 games. We just need more out of the players. And while that's true, I did wish that he was a little bit more, I wish there was a little bit more self-reflection, a little bit more constructive criticism of the front office and how this team was built.
Yeah, like, he mentions that, the umpire apologized to us and that team's really good and they have great pitching, and like over and over he made these concessions of that's why we lost. But in the end, like, is it okay to say, look, that Dodgers team just better than us? Like, is that what he's saying, but trying to tell us the reasons why they might be better than you? I don't.
You have to thread the needle here a little bit, right? Like, because it's like, yeah, the Dodgers are a damn good team, and they are better, and you aren't where you want to be yet again. But does that mean that you need to detonate this thing? Do you need to rip it apart? Do you need to find a way to get Bryce Harper out of here? Don't bring back Real Muto. Let Schwarber walk. Get younger. Like, what does that look like? If you really take it all apart, the path to getting back to where they're at, which is one of a handful of teams that going into October can or has the potential to win a World Series, you just don't know that you're going to get back there. It's not easy to arrive at this point. And so, yeah, they're not as good as the Dodgers. Is that okay? Like, it's not okay, but that doesn't mean that you can just unravel the whole thing. And that's what makes this so frustrating because – in 22, they get bounced by a better Astros team. Fine, we'll be back. 23, it's there. This when we look at this thing 10 years from now, it's always going to be about the missed opportunity of 23. 24, they blew it. This year, this was like the first time since 22 where you felt like, yeah, they weren't the best team.
Yeah, well, and like he kept giving references to like the old Braves teams and how many runs they kept it together and they only won one time. Is that a good thing or a bad thing that you kept it together so many times and only won one time? Like, am I supposed to say, well, then keep it together to win one? Like, if you had 14 chances and only won one, we look at those Braves runs as underwhelming, I guess, but he did kind of mention, well, we had Harrison Bader, and he got hurt at the most inopportune time, and they didn't have Zach Wheeler. Like, I was so disjointed at, like, his wanting to kind of tell a truth, yet that being a negative because we're like, you're making excuses. It was a weird dynamic, no?
Yeah, when it comes to Harrison Bader, I mean, they were a hit away in all 3 games that they lost. They were seemingly a player away. So is he wrong in saying that? No. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they should have won the series either. And I guess what like you have to take out of this, and I think that really, frankly, this is the bottom line of it all, is that there is no good answer. There's nothing that you're going to hear in that press conference yesterday that's going to necessarily make you feel any better about what has happened and where they're going, because the Dodgers aren't going anywhere. There are no easy fixes. And like, I listen to a lot of people that, that respond to us on Twitter or Facebook and the way that people respond about this team in general. And it's like, well, the manager's an idiot and they strike out too much and they chase and it's the sport, man. It's the sport. Like, you like that Brewers offense? What are they doing this week? What does that look like?
That Brewers offense, I had Doug Glanville on the radio show, and he said at the time I had talked to him, they were getting ready to play the Phillies. And he's like, how long can the Brewers live and die with getting the big hit all the time? And that's what they were really good at, to which they won 97 games. And now they're just overmatched. I mean, they're just completely outclassed by this Dodgers team. And, like, I do sympathize with, you're not better than the Dodgers. Like, I didn't think you're better than them. You weren't better than them, but you were right there. So then you go to, like, he was asked about Kevin Long. He's like, we had the batting champion, the home run champion, the RBI champion. We're one of the best offenses in baseball. Would it be out of my mind to fire the hitting coach who helped produce all that? Like, is he wrong?
I don't think he's wrong. I mean, look, if you want change for the sake of change,
right? It feels like that's where we are, right? Like,
that's where you are, because like, this isn't working, so let me just switch it up. And I get that. Like, I understand if that's your perspective, and that goes for the manager as well. This message obviously isn't landing in critical moments, but just because it isn't or hasn't to date doesn't mean that it won't, and it doesn't mean that if you replace the voice that it all of a sudden will. You're talking about a very veteran-heavy team. These guys are established in their approach. Some guys did take a step forward this year. And I think that a lot of it is you want action because of the frustration and the disappointment, not because it's necessarily going to get you any closer to where you want to be. I will say this. I think that Dave Dombrowski told a lot of truths. I had no issue with a lot of the things that he said. I do want to get to the Harper thing in a moment, because to me, that was the lead story of all of this. The one place where I kind of said, come on, man, like, you gotta give me a little bit more than that, was a question from Anthony Sanfilippo, actually. And he was talking about the bullpen and what it might look like next year, because they were seemingly a little bit light in October. And, Dave Dombrowski's answer is like, well, we got the most important part locked up with Duran, and then we like our other guys. And, we saw Max Lazard take a step forward this year. I'm like, come on, dude. Like, your bullpen in October, all season, but especially in October, was just woefully short. Let's fast forward to next October, Mike. Ready?
Well, he doesn't have Jose Alvarado. Is that another excuse?
Yeah, I mean, sure, you can make all the excuses in the world, but you had 4 months to plan for Jose Alvarado's absence. And I understand that Zach Wheeler getting hurt left them a guy short in terms of what they were going to be able to take from the rotation and plug in the bullpen. I get it. But you can't leave yourself vulnerable in that situation.
Well, that was a question that wasn't asked maybe yesterday, which was, though, why not Suarez? Like, in any of these games, like, why didn't you deploy
Why not
him
earlier in the series? Yeah,
exactly.
And I think that's a fair point. But look, I mean, it's, to me, like, we can sit here and we can sort through the rubble of this series against the Dodgers, but look ahead to next year, and it's like, okay, well, I feel good about the 9th inning. Great. What do you like after that? Well, David Robertson's not going to be here. Jose Alvarado is going to be back. Okay, great. Like, I'll go for it that what you saw when he returned wasn't Jose Alvarado. It was a tough situation. He'll look more like the guy he did at the start of this last year. Fine. You trust Matt Strahm in a big spot? 2 straight postseasons where Matt Strahm imploded in key situations where you're trying to protect the lead. So do I feel great about Matt Strahm next October? Not really, especially with diminishing velocity year over year. You feel great about Orion?
Generally get worse every year. They're inconsistent. You've got 2 pretty good years out of Strahm that you're lucky.
Sure. Do you feel great about Orion Kerkering? I think that Orion Kerkering will probably be back because he's cheap and he has upside, and they'll probably allow him to navigate whatever journey he needs to go on to try to overcome what happened against the Dodgers. Fine. But in a playoff series, do you trust any of these guys in a key moment? Of course you don't. And so Dave Dombrowski could have said, yeah, we were a little bit short in the bullpen. We do feel like we need to do more there to fortify it. And instead it was like, well, we got a lot of good options and we like our closer. And there was just no accountability inward. It was all about the players. And he's not wrong that this mostly falls on the players and them needing to do better. But I felt like, hey, you built the team. You went out and signed Max Kepler. If you're one player away, maybe it shouldn't have been Max Kepler. If you're one player away, maybe you should have found a way to unload Alec Boehm this past offseason or do something with Nick Castellanos so that this didn't reach a critical breaking point this past summer. Like, there were things that you could have done differently that might have been the difference in a series where you lost 3 games because one play didn't go your way.
Yeah, and he essentially said the infield's intact. People read that as they're back. They're all signed is what I kind of took from that.
I agree.
It can't be – they tried to trade Boehm last year, so he can't say, well, we tried last year, so we're not going to try again. The whole Stott thing I thought was interesting, where Topper was pretty, fighting for this guy could play every day. Then the result was, well, then why doesn't he play every day? Well, it's not that Sosa stinks, but what were you, trying to say here? Like, hey – somebody else take him. He's an everyday play. I don't know. I mean, but those are 2 guys. But when he said, well, our infield's intact, I think people's red flag buttons went up like, wait, what?
I guess in some ways I wouldn't be surprised if you saw Harper at first, a platoon between Sosa and Stott again at second. Boehm comes back and plays third, and Turner at short, obviously. But I don't think that's what's going to happen. I'm not saying it's an impossibility or they don't land there, but I do wonder if this time around they say, look, we have to open up third base. Boehm's an okay player. He was fine against the Dodgers. He didn't kill us, but this is an opportunity for us to change what we look like, and this is a way that we can go out and do it. I just think that they're going to explore and engage in those conversations again, and I would be surprised if he was or were the third baseman opening day next season.
I would be surprised by that as well. The outfield, obviously, he seemingly is ready to play Crawford. That was another question. Why no Crawford? Not even given a chance. Why? I would like to have heard, why they thought. Because he said he's done everything he asked for. He hit 340. He's been the best hitter in the minors. We had the worst outfield in baseball, and we never gave our top prospect. And, I'm looking, I know the Brewers aren't playing well, but their leadoff hitter's 21 years old and is basically the only offense they have. The one guy they brought into the game, I know Mizorowski ends up getting the loss, but he threw 5 innings, had 9 strikeouts last night, and they just said, look, we're going to throw you out there. And the Phillies just refused to just say, you know what, we're so far ahead in the division in August, let's just see if we can get an infusion of life. Now, he did mention Crawford and Painter And he did mention Miller a little bit more than I thought he would yesterday. So those three guys, I guess, could be in play. I don't know.
I think so. I mean, it would be a surprise. He talked a little bit about, let's start with Painter, because I think that everyone expects that he is on the opening day roster next year. He mentioned it yesterday. The velocity was there. He stayed healthy. In some ways, it's a win. His season was a win because there was no physical setback, but the command was not there. That's when he got hurt. And, Dave obviously admitted to that. And look, I mean, he's not wrong in saying that oftentimes that is the last thing that comes back for a guy that's coming off of Tommy John, especially a young pitcher that's still, a work in progress. So I don't think it's unreasonable to think that he will regain that command and become what everyone expects and hopes that he will be. But there's a little bit of a question mark in that. And he has to take a step forward, because if he does not earn a spot in that rotation out of the gate, that's going to be a huge disappointment.
Big problem. And you don't have Wheeler for the first couple of months, and they can withstand that. But you got to now figure that out. Does that mean Taijuan Walker is in the rotation again for $18 million? I guess so. I mean, pitching is the least of their problems, it would seem like. So then you got the other two guys where Crawford, and he was asked, do you prefer him in center and left? Neither one of them, Thomson or Dombrowski, really gave a clear answer there. I guess that happens. What happens with Bader is the answer to that question, right?
Yeah, I mean, a big takeaway for me yesterday is that they would like Harrison Bader back. And, why didn't Crawford not come up here late in the season? I think that Harrison Bader brought some stability to that outfield. Everything else in terms of the additional parts beyond Bader started to work better once he was there in center and sort of solidified that thing. So I'm okay with the fact that Crawford didn't see Philadelphia this past season. I don't think that his presence would have helped them win 98 games and made them the 1 seed and maybe avoided the Dodgers in the NLDS. And I don't think that he would have been the difference against the Dodgers in the NLDS. So, but do I think he's up here at the start of next year and he's contributing as a corner outfielder? I do. I don't think he's a center fielder defensively right now. I think he's a corner. I think he's a left fielder primarily. Is he going to hit the ground running and be a 285 hitter and give them a spark? I mean, that remains to be seen, but I don't think that they should be designing this thing to make him be a focal point. Like, oh, we're relying on it. We need it. I mean, that can't be the way it is.
So let's Castellanos here or gone. I mean, that whole thing was.
You have a better chance of playing right field for the 26 Phillies than the Castellanos next year.
I wasn't a very good outfielder.
Yeah, you still have a better chance. There's no shot. There's no shot he's back.
I would say that Topper at least was like, hey, I'm good with him. Like, I can let bygones be bygones, but Dombrowski admitted he had to get involved in this mess. I
think it's less about the personal dynamics, and it's more just about that he's not a good baseball player anymore. Like, he's just not. I don't want to say anymore. Maybe that's not entirely fair. He was not a good baseball player this season. He was
no doubt
one of the least valuable players after the month of April in the entire sport when you look at the entire picture. And I know that some people like my dad, people that are like a little bit more throwback, they look at it and say, well, he catches everything that's hit to him, and he's the only guy that came up with big hits in the play. I get it, but when you're looking at the entirety of 162 and how you can upgrade this team, it's the most obvious spot. And he doesn't want to be here, and he doesn't want to be used the way that they want to use him.
Is that enough, though? Is that enough to where they said, hey, we got rid of Castellanos, we're different?
Well, you have to do something, and that is to me the most obvious place. He doesn't want to be here. It's quite clear that he's unhappy. They don't really want him here.
Yeah.
Do they find a trade partner where they eat some money? Yeah, like maybe. Or they might just outright release him, to be honest with you, Mike. I really wouldn't be surprised if they just moved on.
All right. I agree. Listen, Castellanos to me has been everything that's been wrong with this team since they've got him. I was all on board with the signing. You got a guy who hit 30-plus homers, hit over 300, had like a 3. I mean, he was awesome last year with the Reds. Yeah. And you're thinking, you're putting that guy into this lineup behind Harper, that's your protection. Because he has had no ability to protect Harper in his entire tenure here, every time we have a conversation, it's they need a right-handed bat. You signed a right-handed bat. Yeah. And he had completely failed at what he was signed to be. Now, if you thought, well, he was okay here and there. He had that run in the playoffs that he was unbelievable.
Yeah, he had moments, but he did not live up to 5 years.
No way. And I supported the signing, but he has been everything that has been wrong with this lineup because his right-handed bat was supposed to hit in the middle of the lineup, and he was better suited at the bottom of the lineup because he, quite frankly, offered you nothing what you signed for $20 million. That's not cheap. $20 million. Hey, man, and you couldn't go out and get a Teoscar Hernandez because you're stuck with him.
Yeah.
So that's a big one. Let me get your thoughts on Harper and the Harper soliloquy, if you will, from Dave Dombrowski.
Yeah, look, I mean, let's start here. I was stunned to hear what Dave Dombrowski said about Bryce Harper yesterday, and to kind of, circle back to something we said at the top of the show. Was he telling the truth? Yes, and that was what was so stunning about it. Like, Bryce Harper is not one of the 10 best players in the sport right now. Did he have a good year? Yeah, he did. Did he have an elite year? No, he did not. And has Bryce Harper been an elite player these past 2 seasons? No, and he has not owned the big moment when there have been opportunities in October. Does that mean he can't get back there? Time will tell, and we'll see. And who knows? You don't know. I don't know. Nor does Dave Dombrowski know.
Was this, though, like the moment of like when Doc Rivers is asked, hey, can you win a championship with Ben Simmons playing point guard? He's like, I'm not really sure. Like, was that his moment of, I'm letting Bryce Harper know you need to be better, or I want Bryce Harper to ask his way? Like, what is this?
Right. So, and so this is kind of where I'm going. Like, was what he said factually incorrect? It was not, but why say it? Why does that need to be said? And you could look at it and say, well, yes, he's offering up some motivation for Bryce. Bryce is going to take this and say like, oh, okay, I heard you. I got it. I'm going to kick it into another gear.
Which is what Topper said.
But everything
he's motivated. He's more motivated than ever.
But everything that we know about Bryce Harper is that he works hard and he's dialed in and wants to win a World Series, and he's been dedicated to that effort ever since he's been in Philadelphia. He's been obsessed with it. And so when I look at it and say, does he really need that external motivation? Does he need his general manager or the president of baseball operations to publicly say after another flame out that he doesn't know if Bryce Harper is going to be elite anymore? And so then you look at it in a little bit more of like a sinister way. Like, was there an ulterior motive in saying that? And I don't think so. Like, I don't think that they're trying to upset him or get him to a point where he would waive a no trade clause, or I don't think it's about trying to fracture the relationship with Bryce. But you just wonder, like, I really think that Dave Dombrowski looks at it and says, we've built a pretty good team. Yes, there are ways that we can maybe improve in the margins, but we're never going to get to where we want to get unless a guy like Bryce Harper plays a little bit better and owns the moments when they come. And I just thought it was a weird thing to say. I really did. I was surprised he said it, and I don't really know why he said it.
I agree with everything you said in terms of whatever he said was not off base. He was not elite this year. At no moment when Bryce Harper came up to the plate did you think, okay, here we go, at all. And, I don't know what that means moving forward for him. They seem pretty locked in that he's going to play first base, and that's what they want. So it's almost like, okay, does that mean you can't get a player to play first base if that's the best player on the market for all the people that want Pete Alonso? I don't know. It was a weird, disjointed way of basically treating Bryce Harper, who, by the way, I will say this, Bob. I don't know about you, but it feels like people are hitting that breaking point of, oh, my God, we have 5 more years of this guy. Like, it's all cool. It's just like the relationship's going well for 5 years, and then all of a sudden you're like, and now we have 5 more years of this relationship?
I think that Bryce Harper would get his current or his remaining contract on the open market. And I think it's important to remember that. This is not a deal where you go, oh my goodness, if I could unwind this deal, I would do so in a heartbeat. Or he would not get the remaining years in a new deal, or the remaining money, or the remaining average annual value. Like, he still would command that in the open market right now if he were a free agent. So this contract is
well, is that their way of saying, don't come back to us and ask for a extension?
Right. And so you start to wonder, like, if it was premeditated, if the comments were premeditated, which we don't know that they were, then you say, like, well, what's the end game? Was that a shot about, hey, don't come looking for more money? Are they still angry about that, that ask of his a couple of years ago becoming public? Are they agitated by that? Are they upset that he's not taking more of an active leadership role? Like, one thing that I think is fair, you look at his body language this year, there were just times where you felt like, and I'm not saying he wasn't in it or he didn't care or that he wasn't living and dying by it, but when you just look at the body language, there were times where he looked and felt like he was checked out.
Yeah.
And, are they frustrated with something? And that's what you have to look at. You have to read into it and say, if these comments were premeditated, one of Dave Dombrowski's goals going into that press conference yesterday was, I want to put Bryce Harper on notice. Then there's got to be a reason for it. Now, could it have just been Dave kind of got swept up in a question and ended up answering it as it was coming out of his mouth? He said, "Oh, I wish I didn't answer it like that." Maybe, but Dave is pretty calculated and typically pretty calm in how he answers questions. And so that's why I think it's fair to have this conversation about what was he trying to accomplish.
I agree. And like it's almost was eye-opening of like, hey, you said everything we wanted to hear, but now that we heard it, we're like, now what does that mean for this relationship? Because you almost can't afford for that relationship to go south on you.
That's my big question. Bryce Harper is very aware of everything that is written and said about Bryce Harper. And so I wouldn't be surprised if he was listening to that live yesterday, or if he was not, I would not be surprised that his phone was not going off in the seconds after Dave made his comments. And so what's Bryce going to do when he hears that? Does he say, fair, I was just okay, and I need to show that I'm going to be elite again because I have it in me? Or is he going to go, are you kidding me? Like, right. You serious? After all this, after everything I've done for this franchise, you're going to come at me? Like, what is his response to this, and how is he going to take those comments? And fair wonder.
Okay, so I got Harper and that whole situation there. What was another one or two eye-opening moments from the 2 hours of the 2-hour expository, if you will?
Yeah, I mean, I think Jose Alvarado is going to be back. It certainly sounds like. I don't know if it's going to be on the current deal. Maybe they rip that one apart. They build in another option. That's entirely possible. But it sounds like they want him back at this point. I think the other thing that kind of became pretty apparent is that I think that they feel like that this is by and large the team, and that they are going to do what they can to put. So
you're taking them at their word yesterday that they were being truthful. This team is good enough. We're going to run it back. We're just a part or a peripheral. That's it. Or hey, we're going to say all this, get everybody all rankled, and then we're going to flip this whole roster over and make everybody extra excited.
Well, you have a plan at the beginning of an offseason, and what you have is multiple different avenues. Like, it's like a if and then statement across multiple different parts. Like, do they have a primary objective of simply running it back? No. Do they have a primary objective of blow it up? No. But
now you're stuck in the middle.
All it takes is one phone call, though, from a team to say, like, hey, we're interested in this. And you go, okay, like, we had not thought about this previously, or we would be interested in that. And then that changes the entire
Is there a guy on this roster, though, that another team calls and says, hey, we're really interested in?
Bryce Harper.
Okay.
I think there's team. Now, I want to make sure, especially if we're going to clip video here, like, I don't think Bryce Harper's going anywhere. I saw something earlier this week where there was an insinuation in a back and forth like this one that they would be interested in trading Bryce Harper. I do not believe that to be true. Like, I think that there is less than 1% chance of that even reaching a point where they're like,
well, hey, I've said many times, and I'll say here, get your reaction, which is if someone called and asked for Trey Turner, if I'm the Phillies, I say, can I drive him for you? Not that he stinks, not that he's bad, but what impact does he bring to this team for $300 million? In other words, I'll be okay with that if I was paying him $10 million a year. Sure. I'm paying him $27 million a year, and he was asked yesterday, like, do you want him to have more power? No, he's doing exactly what we want. Okay, fine. Then what impact has he made? Because he got hurt last year, and the team was fine. He got hurt this year, and the team was fine. And that's not to say they would be a 96-win team without Trey Turner, but if they had $300 million to filter around, and by the way, they just happen to have a guy that plays shortstop. It's the only player in the whole organization that anybody is excited about, and he happens to play the same position. So if you could trade Trey Turner, that seems to be the answer.
Yeah, I mean, look, what I will say is this: like, I too would exit that deal if I could just get a clean break from it. I probably would. But so much of this, I think, is about the two prior years as well. And like, he had poor bats except for Game 3 in this series. He did not make an impact. He played 141 games this year. He led the league in batting. He had 36 stolen bases. He would have swiped 40 bags. He probably would have knocked on the door at 18 to 20 home runs in a full season. Like, he played much better defense. Like, he did everything that everyone wanted him to do better a year ago. He did this past year.
It's not an indictment on his
I
performance.
still agree with you at that price where he's at in his career. I think for a while.
Think about this, Bob. The face of the team is Harper or Schwarber, but Harper and then Schwarber. Turner is somewhere down the line behind JT Realmuto, some of the pitchers, and anybody else you want to put. It's not like he's knocking on the door. And all those guys are going to be gone, and he's still going to be here in 30-31, 30-32, and 20-21, 20-20, 31, 32, and 33.
Yeah, I mean, the reality of it is, though, that he will be here. And, I don't think are going to, field a call this offseason that says, we're interested in Trey Turner. And
who would want that deal?
Who would want that deal? And that's true. And, is it a mistake? I guess it's probably a mistake. But, again, let me just we just watched the series where they came up short. Trey Turner had some very poor at-bats at bad times. But what if I just said this? And this is going to drive you nuts. I don't know that I entirely believe it. If you're listening to it, you'll probably roll your eyes. But what if I just said that Trey Turner had a very good year this year for the Phillies? And at one point, you could have made an argument that he was a top 5 to top 7 MVP candidate in the National League. I think that that's true. And what if I told you that he got hurt at the end of the year, he missed time, and he didn't happen to get his timing back against an electric set of pitchers from the Dodgers? Does that mean that he's a choke artist? Does that mean he's a loser? Does that mean he's a bad player? Does that mean that the Phillies, if they're trying to win a World Series next year, would be better off getting rid of him this offseason? I would get rid of that deal if I could. Getting rid of Trey Turner or moving off of Trey Turner in the short term will not bring you closer to where you want to be.
Well, again, it's all more tailored to their thought process here of, hey, we're this close, and if Trey Turner doesn't get hurt, maybe his timing's there, and he gets that. He mentioned Edmundo Sosa hits that ball, hits it hard, but right at somebody. What if he hits it in the gap? We win that game. So they could be saying, hey, Trey Turner didn't have his timing. And if we have Trey Turner rocking and rolling, this is not an indictment on Trey Turner, the player, and what he brought. I thought he was very good this year, exceeded probably expectations in terms of, I think people are just kind of meh on him. That being said, this is more
here. I feel that too. I watch that playoff series and I go, okay, Trey Turner's up. It did not evoke.
The most memorable thing Trey Turner did in the series was defensively. He made that one play that kept you in the game. Yeah. And if that's the point, that's I don't know. I mean,
and he also made a play later where he throws the ball to the wrong side.
Oh, that too, which was brought up yesterday by it was brought up by Dombrowski. But I don't know. I keep wondering, him hitting 305 and being an on-base guy with 17 homers, what impact does he have? I don't know.
I think when you do that deal and you see the highlight video and John Hamm is narrating it as he's a free agent. I don't know if you remember that. Go back and watch that video if you don't remember it.
Well, when that team signed him, they're coming off of going to the World Series, and you're and you just added
need. He's a premier player. He's a top 20 player in the sport, and you're thinking, I'm going to get 25 to 30 homers. I'm going to get 40 stolen bases. He's going to hit 280. It's going to be awesome. We have a World Series caliber team that has one obvious deficiency, and we just upgraded it in the best way possible. It's going to lead to championships, and instead, it's been a pretty rocky road. And he's okay, and they're fine. But again, it just draws back to the question of where else are you improving? What else are you truly going to do? And so you have to, as a fan, like it or not, accept the reality that they're pretty good. They're probably going to win over 90 games next year. They're going to be one of a handful of teams that has the capability of winning a World Series, and the likelihood is that they won't.
And they won't. And we'll all be having this same conversation again of what you do. All right, let's do some rapid fire stuff as we get to the end here of now batting for the Phillies. Will Dan Baker be saying, now batting for the Phillies, Kyle Schwarber? Will that happen?
I think so.
Yep. Overpay?
But I think
Overpay?
So.
Overpay?
Competitive pay. I don't think there's
Are we going to be complaining about his contract in a couple of years?
Probably.
JT?
Yeah.
I think Schwarber will be back as well. JT I'm split on because I do think they can get creative and do what they did to get JT and try to trade to get a JT to replace JT.
JT's going to want the years.
2 years, $25 million. That's what I've seen in terms of throwing out there. You okay with that?
I would do 2 years, $25 million. I'd probably even go 2 years, $30. If I could do 2 years, I'd probably pay an annual average premium so that I'm not going $445. I don't want to do that.
I feel like somebody has to be the guy that's not here anymore. Who's that guy?
Well, I think that there's a reality where Max Kepler's not back. I don't think Nick Castellanos back. That you just vacated 2 of your outfield spots right there. I know that's more of a platoon, so it's like 1. I think you're going to explore third base. And like, to me, that's fairly significant. You're talking about of 10 normal everyday type guys that you see with some degree of consistency. You're talking about 3 of them being different next year.
Yeah. Next week, we'll talk some about the free agents that are available because it's not a great free agent class. You know, your free agents are some of the best ones on the market. Suarez, Schwarber, Bader, Real Muto. Those are probably 4 of the top, 20 if you want to get into it. But we'll look at that. Rob Thomson is back. He's going to have a new bench coach, it looks like. I don't know what that means. Is that their way of saying that we thought you messed up, or is that their way of saying we just want more control?
No, I think if they're in their evaluation, it would have been, we're going to move on from you, if they felt that he was really the 1 or 2 top reasons, first or second top.
He leaves every stone unturned.
But here's where I'm at. I mean,
it's
time that they want to do the field coordinator thing. That's actually become pretty commonplace in the sport.
Yeah. Well, Thompson said they talked about it last year, and for whatever reason, that didn't happen.
Now, they're going to add a year to his deal. I don't think they want to do the lame duck thing, but I don't think that Rob Thomson is going to manage the Phillies in 2028. Like, I think he's got.
Well, if this team gets off to a start that's blah,
yeah,
he could be the Joe Girardi.
Well, I think it's partly that. It's also, I don't even know if they're going to play baseball in 2027, given the labor issues. I just don't think that Rob Thompson's here in another 2.5 years from now. And so I think that partly, and I know they want to get somebody with experience that can help navigate in-game situations with Rob. But I think that they also would like to bring in somebody that they view as a potential successor. And I think that Rob Thompson's at a place in his career, knowing who he is as a person.
He said it.
He won't be terribly offended by that.
No, he said it. Like, if I'm not enjoying this or I'm not doing the job, then I can't be here anymore. Yeah. I almost feel like that's, though, part of the pushback from the fans. It's almost like, and I get it all the time on the radio show, like Rob Zombie, he doesn't do anything, and we have the discussion about the role of the manager. I don't know if the Phillies are just comfortable with Rob and saying, hey, we're doing everything we want to do, and Rob is exactly what we want for that role.
Look, I think we've talked about this on air quite a bit, Rob Thomson. And let me just say this before we wrap this up. You can make an argument that this team has been knocking on the door for a number of years and they need a different voice or a different energy, and that different voice or energy would be enough to kind of like break down the door, right? And I can't argue that might not be true. Like that very well may be the case. But just because you change the voice does not mean that you're going to get or it does not mean you're going to get a different result. And remove all of that for a second, because it's all speculative. If you just look at the reality of the 2025 Phillies, everyone that called him Rob Zombie, like I understand. I actually thought that in 24, that was his worst coaching job, because I do think that his lack of urgency with decision-making and personnel and talking about staying healthy, I think that permeated the team's mindset. It was part of the reason that they got ousted by an inferior Mets team. I think it might be fair to say that. But you look at the job that he did this year, this team, they had elite starting pitching. The bullpen stunk, especially in the beginning of the year. It was a dreadful bullpen. The lineup, you had an underperforming Max Kepler, an underperforming Nick Castellanos. Your center field tandem was one of the worst in the sport. Your third baseman was terrible the first month and a half of the season.
Yeah.
Your starting catcher was not playing that well at the start of the season. Bryce Harper was not an MVP type candidate. When you looked at that team, they were winning games, and everyone hated almost every single part of it.
I love having 96-win teams, and they stink.
96
I hate that's where we are in sports, though. I hate that's where we are in sports.
It is. It's partly because it's a championship culture. It's either did you win it or did you not. But I think if you were being fair about this team, like you look at all the different offensive parts of it, aside from Kyle Schwarber, and you say, like, I don't love this team. It's not that good of a team. They need to upgrade. They need this. They need that. They need 2 bullpen arms, and they still won 96 games. And I think that Rob navigated a lot of difficult situations, and I think he did a good job this year overall.
I mean, we could do a whole podcast on this down the road. We probably will in the offseason, but the role of the manager, like to me, the role of the manager has changed so much. His role is to keep everybody happy and keep harmony in the – now, the bunt thing. Do I think Rob Thomson calls a bunt? Yes, I don't think that – but is that placated on that's what the organization wants them to do? Are they
Yeah,
that tied to
and I don't
analytics?
sound like a Rob apologist here. Like, I hated that bunk call. Like, it made me. I wanted to throw something at the television in real time. I mean, so I did not agree with that. And what I think it's fair to wonder, over 162, is Rob Thomson a good manager? Sure. When push comes to shove and you absolutely have to have a difference-making decision, do I totally trust him? I don't, but I would also, in the same breath as I will try to do here, say that you did not hit. You didn't hit, and that's why you don't have any margin for error from your manager in these key spots, because nobody hit. And that is not on him. And you're right, Mike. A baseball manager's job in 2025 is different than it was 30 years ago. It's analytically driven. The Phillies are very analytically driven. You need somebody that can convey the analytics and convey the decision-making processes to your clubhouse and do it in a way that players are going to accept or deal with. And that doesn't mean that everyone has to be in perfect harmony. Nick Castellanos certainly was not in love with it this year, but you have to do it enough, and you have to be able to put out fires where they exist. And I think he did an okay job of that. If your one thing is, if they change the manager, they're going to win the World Series next year, and that was the biggest thing, I think you're off base.
All right, I think we covered a lot here for episode 1. They gave us a lot yesterday. We probably could keep going, but we have lives and jobs. I'm looking forward to getting some thoughts on you on free agents that you're interested in. We'll save that for next time. Make sure everybody checks us out on YouTube at Mike Gill Show, at BFA Live Sports, on the X platform. You can find us live there. The audio version will be up on all the podcasting platforms, and we'll check back in with everybody next Friday, I guess, here on Now Batting for the Phillies, Mike and Bob Phillies Baseball Chat. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Bob, it's good to talk to you. As always, I'm looking forward to more baseball chats. I love off-season baseball chats.
I know you do. You're going to be asking me about it'll be a week before Christmas, and we're going to be talking about the Phillies lineup. I can't wait.
That and free agency in baseball, I know like some of these Phillies free agents might be on the board still in March.
They might be.
There's a possibility, right?
It's going to be very
Kyle
interesting.
Schwarber could still be a free agent on like March 1st.
Could be. I'm telling you, that labor thing in 27 is going to be very impactful this offseason.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Download it on all of the podcasting platforms, and we'll talk to you next week. See ya.